Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Here we go. VTP Stage 2 Online Technical Tuesday Coaching Call 181 for the 10th of February 2026. Hope you're well. Hope you've had a good start to the week. I hope you've had a less frustrating start to the week than I have, but more of that later. Anyway, good to be here. It's going to be an interesting week ahead of us in markets and plenty of opportunity of one sort or another. As always, you are very welcome here, but just remember that you're always responsible for your own trading and investing decisions. All right, so let's start to go into the worksheets and have a look at what's going on and what's actually telling us here in the market. So let me just bring up the old drawing tools here for you. So what I'm kind of interested, what leaps off when I do this is looking at the sterling pairs, is that pretty much, they are in selling environments. Okay, apart from pound CAD, which is telling us probably a little bit about the Canadian dollar, although I wonder if that will change as well. But what we can see is certainly sterling. It is a whole heap of selling environments for sterling. Okay, as we were coming into the week. What it also shows is that a lot of the Aussie pairs, okay, they are still in, and the Kiwi pairs are in buying environments. All right, they're STAM 1 or STAM 2 Bravo. Okay, so they are in buying environments. That's what we can see, and when we switch across the markets, and we'll see a bit more of that in a moment as well. What was kind of always interesting is that I said this a couple of weeks ago. Okay, if you look at the momentum for the yen pairs, okay, they had already switched. The momentum had switched to being bullish on the yen. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a top or a bottom in that, but when you start to see the momentum switch across all of them, all right, then you do start to sit up and start to take notice of like, well, hang on a minute, is it going to be a shift? And of course, that just basically it just basically confirms, right, the fact that we had the Japanese elections at the weekend. We had a super majority for Mr. Takishi, so there is going to be change, right? And that's what the market's waiting to see. We've already seen a bit of a dollar dump, which we'll look at in a moment, but invariably, what we're also seeing is there will be a change in Japanese yen because as we start to see what her and our government's policies are. But that's what we're seeing there. When we go deeper into looking at it, all right, okay. So starting the week, for week 7 of the year, 9th of February, where were we? What's the scores and the doors? Aussie dollar still remains top of the pile. Swiss franc remains in second place, with yen and dollar at the bottom of the pile there. Okay, yen has been yen's been at the bottom of the pile for months. All right, okay, not a massive shocker there. Dollar, I thought we might get a bit of a bump, but no, it's kind of dollar weakness for one reason or another is the name of the game. Kiwi dollar is kind of into third place. That's what I was saying. It's kind of sort of demonstrating that kind of element of buying environments for basically Aussie and Kiwi. Sterling, well, what we've seen over the last few weeks is that basically sterling and euro keep swapping places. Euro's doing well off the back of basically the anti-dollar, anti-Trump trade. Sterling is holding up because of weakness in dollar and yen. That's really, and as we look at the charts a little bit later, that's what we're kind of probably seeing. And then invariably, we also have all of the geopolitical instability that we're seeing with the UK this week as well, and that will only increase. Certainly, for this morning session was a bit of a scrappy session on the intraday side. Okay, but what we saw was compared to the dollar, yen was strength, all right, and actually sterling was weak and Aussie was weak. Okay, so you might say that's a little bit of a kind of risk off momentum this morning, or risk off momentum this morning. Okay, that's what we probably saw a little bit of there. As I said, sterling's been a bit scrappy, although it popped in the last just before I was coming on, it popped. So whether there is some political shenanigan that's gone on that we're just finding out and stuff, I don't know. For sterling to pop, I suspect I could be wrong, but I suspect probably Storm is just brazening it out, because I think if Storm had resigned and Rayner and the other sort of useless clowns that make up the cabinet, I think what we'd have seen is Sterling getting dumped and gilts getting dumped and gilt yields rising rapidly and stuff. So the fact that Sterling has pumped in the last half an hour, I wonder I wonder if Starm and Reeves have done or said something to basically secure themselves, at least for the next couple of months. So, but we'll look at the charts there in a moment about that. Okay, I'm just going into the STAM in depth. So the kind of STAM plugin, what's that doing? Is that telling us any particular different? Not really. If I look at the kind of, here we go. Aussie's top of the drawers, okay, and also the 4 hour chart is strong there. Swiss franc, okay, is in second place at 17, and also has a strong 4 hour bias. Kiwi dollar is in fourth, even though it's not as strong, but it's still strong there, okay. And then you are looking at basically, you're looking at effectively euro, Canadian, sterling, and then here we have dollar and yen, bottom of the pile. So all it's doing is just confirming. All right, what the STAM's doing is this is just a screenshot from the plugin just before. And for those who want to focus on kind of just a few currencies for the week, buying Aussie yen, buying Swiss yen, buying Aussie dollar, selling dollar Swiss. All right, have been moves, and yeah, certainly in terms of the dollar, that sort of kind of had me a bit grumpy and frustrated over the last 24 hours. But we'll look at that more in the moment. This is just confirming, what we're looking at. It's lots of different things, or just confirming the same picture. That's what you want.